us at LIR.com, 927LIR.com, and YouTube. I am John Kalaboukas, the Bouk, with my friend Paul Zubulake. Zoobie. Jets, 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 Jets.
Wow. Very impressive, John. Very impressive. Yes, the Jets, I will, if you want to jump right into it.
Let's go right
So,
in. They actually have
right
a
in.
commercial.
Yes.
Have you seen the commercial? They have a new commercial, and that's all they're saying the entire commercial is Jets, 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 showing all these different fans and celebrities and everything else.
I have not seen that, but if it's
It's a
on
great
regular,
commercial.
yeah, right, yeah, on TV, I have to admit I'm not watching too much TV these days, but besides Sunday and Saturdays. But yeah, I'll be on the lookout. I still get my emails from my good friend over at the Jets ticket office, Jenna. Still trying to sell tickets to me, and it's pretty. I know it's like an automated process, so good for Jenna. She's trying, doing her job for the New York Jets, who have pulled to 500 with their not the most impressive victory, but one they had to have. I'm looking forward to hearing what you think, John, but I'll just quickly jump in and I'll throw it over to you. And I do want to make this. There's two things, 2 points. Now it is official. Anytime that anybody refers to Aaron Rodgers as a Hall of Fame quarterback, needs to stop saying that. Because as I have been saying for weeks and months, we have Aaron Rodgers at age 40. That's the version we have. We do not have an NFL MVP. So that's my first point. The second point, this team is if we're being honest, which we always want to do in the Bouk and Zoobie show, is a borderline playoff team as of today. That's what this team is. So the people who were going over the top with these insane predictions need to get into reality, admit that they need to get into reality, and that's what this team is going to be. So we're going to see each week as it unfolds, and unfortunately this Thursday, can they sustain it like any other NFL team with injury? So we'll get to those injuries in a minute, but I just wanted to get that out, John, and I want to hear about your view of the game and just what you think and what do you think. 2 games is still not enough. 4 is the ideal amount. So we're going to wait till after 4, but I wanted to get a little head start
on it. Again, I have the same comment about Rodgers like I did the first game. He still has a gun for an arm, and he showed it in that game. Zero mobility. It's going to be the same old story, like I said in the first game. Just zero mobility. I mean, he just can't. I don't know. I almost feel like he needs a walker to move out of the pocket. That's how slow he is. I mean, it's incredible. And they gave him a lot of time. I have to say, his line gave him plenty of time in this game, and he still got sacked.
Yeah, no, but we'll get to them. That's the one. We're going into the bright spot category. That's definitely there. So yeah, okay. Lack of mobility in the pocket.
Yeah. I was not happy with the defense again, particularly the way Ridley just manhandled Sauce the entire game. I mean, he very, very smart receiver because he actually used other players to cut Sauce off from covering him. Sauce did not have a good game.
He did not.
Sauce did not have a good game at all.
That's his worst game as a pro, and he didn't make a play on that long touchdown.
Yeah.
We'll get to Chuck Clark too.
Yeah.
I'll just call him. My nickname for Chuck Clark is one step behind Chuck. That's Chuck Clark in a nutshell. Now, again, small sample size. Small. 2 games. Also a guy coming off an injury, did not play last year. But Sauce did not have a good game. He could have knocked that guy. First of all, that guy's going in for the touchdown, the first touchdown of the game, John. He's got to get down low and tackle the guy. He's trying to push him out of bounds. I mean, it's a receiver. Go down and make the play and make it 1st and goal from the 1. He kind of just... it's just not a good look, all right? Not a good look. Of course, the media will not say anything about it because he's the chosen one and you can't speak reality. And Quinnen Williams is the other guy that always falls into that category. And I was happy. I'll be happy to report that he did get up to 74% of the snaps. And he didn't do much statistically, but at least he was out there three
Right.
out of four plays instead of 1 out of 3. I mean, 2 out of 3 the week before.
Yeah. No. I. It's funny you brought up 74% because I was saying to myself, he seems to be out there a lot in this particular game, and you have the stats to prove it.
Well, that's why I love snap counts, John. It tells you what's going on with the team. And I'll give you another one that's telling you what's going on the team. Malachi Corley, 1 snap again, 1 snap week 1, 1 snap week 2, a non-factor. Again, another week of lack of distribution.
Yep.
But the
Yep.
bright side, and I'm going to talk about it right now. O-line is still intact after 2 games, and if you look at
Yes.
the rest of the team, that's good. That's a huge factor. And the other problem is the wide receivers. I just think there's a lack of depth there.
Well, one thing that I was saying to myself during the game, because I didn't know much about him, I just saw Allen is like a little tank, man.
Right.
You absolutely called that one. He is like a little tank. That's a great pick.
That's
Great
so
pick.
funny because that should have been my number 2. And I was going to bring him up. Use him. They didn't use him opening week. I don't know why the Jets punted on opening week and the 49ers go out and lose. So it just
Yeah.
shows you that
Yeah.
they're not they're not going 17-0. NFL is great. What a weekend for the NFL. We'll definitely go around the league. We'll get to the blue team a little bit. Didn't see as much obviously because they're playing at the same time. But yeah, Braylon Allen is absolutely a find. He was a end of the 4th round pick. They gave the distribution was like 3/4 to 1/4. It's a 1-2 punch. They're so effective, and they're using him in the passing game.
Yeah.
He's definitely got to be used in the short yardage situation, and then Brees Hall still got over 20 touches. So a much better job for the offense. More at the end of the game. Let's face it. The first
Oh.
quarter was
Oh.
ridiculously bad. The first half, I think they had 20 yards late in the first half. So it was really just the second half. And you're right, Rodgers. I mean, he gave up that sack in the first half where he was just looking to go down, and like no escapability, folks, no
None.
escapability.
None.
And that is definitely a problem in the big picture. And that's why this team is, like I said, is a borderline playoff team right now, 2 games in.
Yeah. And the fact that that first quarter, I think for them not actually being in game situations, it's almost like they're going through preseason still in some
It's
manner.
it's really just an indictment on the whole situation over there that they're not using the preseason properly, and it's showing up. They got through it with the help of Will Levis,
Oh.
who up
Oh.
7-0,
Oh.
on the 3rd down and 6 play. I mean, I don't know what he's thinking. A field goal right there is a big boost for his team. They get up 2 scores. Lack of situational awareness. How many times? Young quarterbacks. What? And just deservedly getting cursed out by the coach. It's just hard to believe, John, that what is in his mind to do something like that. It's if he does that forward, it's okay
Right.
because it's an incomplete pass. He's doing it backwards, and the
Yeah.
running back had no chance. What a huge mistake, right? The Jets were, I'm not going to say they were lucky to win because they really did play a lot better in the second half, but they could have been in a bigger hole. So thank you, Will Levis.
Well, the one thing that I'm pretty good at is reading lips. And boy, you didn't have to not be, you could be not very good at reading lips, but the way he was cursing. Well, let's say it. It was what the f was that? Is what Callahan said to him, and I was laughing my head off. I'm like, yeah, what the f was that? That was a terrible play. I mean, I listen. Of course I was happy for the Jets, but I'm saying, man, was that a stupid? I had to text you after that. I was like, wow,
It,
that was a big turnaround. To be honest, they were
That was
driving, they
a
were
huge
moving.
momentum changer.
Yeah,
It was so the Jets were lucky to still be close enough in the second half where they could play better. So there are some bright spots. We have to, I mean, Rodgers coming off an Achilles. We're going to give him more time to get that mobility a little better, but it's not going to go exponentially better. So
No,
he's going to
no.
be a sitting duck. I mean, the O line after 2 weeks, knock on wood, now they got to come back with this short week. Just awful. These Thursday night games are a
Uh,
disaster for the NFL. Tua gets hurt on the Thursday night game, coming back on a short rest. And now the Jets are facing this three games in 11 days, and they talk about player safety. I mean, is there any bigger fraud than the NFL? Oh well, there's a few frauds out there, but I mean the NFL. I mean they got to be kidding me with this,
I
right?
mean,
They got to do something about this.
I mean, just as an aside, and we really should speak about Tua. I actually texted Father K
Right.
to
Okay.
see what his take is, and he says kid needs to retire, and I
You,
agree with him. Kid needs to
I,
retire. It's too
I,
many concussions. It's way too many.
well, I don't know. They're claiming that's three concussions. There's guys who had six, seven. I don't know. I'm not going to say retire. Definitely taking this year off. He should be wearing the extra layer of protection. Why isn't the why? That is one thing because I don't know if you've known. The practice cap right is now being used, allowed to be used. They put some cloth thing with the same color as the helmet, so you look a little goofy. Who cares? If you have a concussion history as a player, you're not
No,
wearing this cap. That's ridiculous. It's like one guy each game is wearing it. What are these guys? It's like a fashion statement. Who cares? Protect your
but
head, right?
right, right. No,
It should,
that was pretty awful because
he should have
uh,
slid. He should have slid.
he
What is he
should have
taking a
split.
hit for?
He should have slid, and but some neurologists were saying that the way he was reaching up with his arms was a
Mm-hmm.
sign that he actually got brain damage on that hit. It was a telltale sign
Okay.
when
Well,
his arms went up, the way
yeah.
that it went up.
It was a certain position.
Right.
I'm not gonna I'm not going to say anything about stuff I know honestly nothing about. The people who are commenting, who knows? But he should obviously get the right advice. You would hope. The team's obviously in terrible situation right now.
Yeah.
They cut Mike White, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
didn't
That
bring
was
him
weird.
back because he's on practice squad. So they did sign. Yeah, they got Tyler Huntley off the Ravens practice squad, who's a guy who's played. So that was actually
Hmm.
it's amazing the guy was on a practice squad. So he's actually going there. But Skylar Thompson as the starter. John, I don't like I said, I hate when guys get hurt. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and the thing I did say that the Dolphins would not make the playoffs. So I guess from a prediction perspective, the injury helps, but I didn't want to have it that way. That's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean you want to see it through competition, but that was an awful hit. I mean, really, just the way
Unnecessary.
he went. Yeah, just the way he went, and he was so far behind. I mean, you're so far behind, and you're going. Yeah, I understand you want to get the first down, but still, like you said, slide.
It
It
does.
was easy for him to slide.
It wasn't. If the game's on the line, at least as an argument, yeah, the game's not on the line. You can argue he shouldn't even have been in the game. And I mean, it was Damar Hamlin, which is crazy, was the guy who's
Yeah,
making the hit. But it wasn't even
unbelievable.
like he wasn't. He was just standing his ground, and Tua just ran right into him. Right? He
He
just
didn't do
like
much at all. Hamlin
he
didn't
did.
do
Right?
much at
He
all.
just stood his ground. He stood his
Yeah,
ground, and he just
yeah,
ran into him like it was a blocking dummy.
yeah.
And
No,
he
it
was a
was
yeah. And again,
that was
I
awful
mean,
to see.
when you have a concussion history as a player and it's a meaningless time of the game,
It was
I mean,
that was awful.
it's just unnecessary and it's a bad thing for the game. But speaking of season-long injuries, to get us back to the Jets, Jermaine Johnson, this is going to have some contractual issues for him with this team because, as people know, he was one of the three first rounders to take with Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, and also Brees Hall was taken in the second round of that draft. Those guys are all going to get paid, John. And Jermaine Johnson's injury, torn Achilles, out for
Ugh,
the season, maybe
yeah.
into next year, is really, unfortunately for him, going to really hurt him on a contractual basis. So terrible to see, John, from the team perspective, but personally too. The guy had a bad first game, And he actually even admitted it. Good for him. And he was playing better in this game. He was, and he got held on one play early in the game when they had a sack. Can the announcer say something? I mean, he's coming. Do you remember this play where the guy grabbed him by
Yeah, yeah.
and it was like they were saying, "Oh, Jermaine Johnson had pressure on the play." Yeah, he couldn't move his other right arm to
It's true.
freaking sack the guy because he was getting held, and they don't say anything.
Yeah.
Like, what game are you watching, man? It was our guy. It was Iron Eagle too, right? So,
Iron Eagle, yeah.
and Iron Eagle also said something about, like, he said something when he had that shovel pass to Braylon Allen on the touchdown when he, like, did the little
Yeah.
pitch. And didn't he say something like it was like a bullet, or it was like he made like this comment like Rogers with the strike or something. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, yeah.
Rogers with the strike. And it was like he threw it. So Ian was like, he was like worried that he couldn't get that in the rest of the game the way it was going, I guess. So he's like, the first good play, I'm calling it a strike no matter what. But luckily
But
for Rodgers, he did have some big throws, right, late in the game. Mike
it was
Williams
pretty.
with his first catch, that was a huge play on the second and 16 play
Oh
after
yeah,
the Jets
yeah.
could not, like, where was Rodgers' head in this game? It's on him, the delay of the game. What is going on with him?
Three.
That
He
was
had
so bizarre.
three. He
It
had
was
three.
great. One penalty and two timeouts in the second half.
Yeah,
In the
yeah,
beginning of the second half. About two
yeah,
of them were in the beginning of the second half. And it was the whole game. It was going down to like 1 or 2 seconds.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
oh my, it's unbelievable. Again, lack of preparation preseason. Now they got a short week. They're basically not practicing. CJ Mosley might not play, and DJ Reed might not play.
Yeah,
So who
yeah.
did not play. So good job by Brandon Eccles. We should mention him. He had
Yes,
that
yeah.
great interception. They were all ripping Levis for the terrible throw, but that was a great play
Uh,
by Eccles. So good for him. Let's talk about stepping up, John. It's all, I know everybody says it, right? Next man up. And Brandon Eccles, he did the job with DJ Reed out.
he did a tremendous job, and it's pretty ironic that you mentioned Johnson last week about how poorly he played, and here he gets the Achilles. I mean, and you
Terrible.
have to really, and you really have to take a look at some again. They don't want to talk about the fields, but you really got to take a look at the fields again. I mean, I don't know what's going on to have all these Achilles injuries.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
luckily it wasn't at MetLife, but yeah, I think Tennessee's got the artificial stuff,
they
right?
do.
So
Yeah, they do. They
I
do.
know that's the players, John. They got to collectively bargain that stuff. They do. If they really care about the player safety, I mean, they're putting in for the World Cup, John. They're putting in grass fields in these football stadiums for the World
Yeah,
Cup.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, the players have the power. The players have the power. Do something about it. They're gonna, the infamous 18th game. Well, if they want to get the 18th game, which Goodell is dying, he's salivating for the 18th game, 18 weeks of more time to get injured. Because let's face it, it is a war of attrition,
yeah.
and you better have depth. It's almost like those 37 pitchers in baseball. You better have the depth. So. The
Well,
Jets are going to have to find the depth, John, and no Hassan Reddick. So before we even think of moving on, we have to talk about this because, again, no question he's not playing this week on the short week. It's going to be 3 weeks. I've heard a lot of different people trying to explain the rules regarding this stuff and, how many games, what does he have to do? And it's very foggy, John. It's the NFL, just like the expedited replay, they still have not explained what the heck they're doing. Now, of course, it wasn't used during the Jet game, so we have no idea and the other games I watched, I don't recall it being a factor, but can the NFL please explain what their rules are? And even with this free agent, the situation with Hassan Reddick and free agency, what does he have to do? I mean, the Jets. I mean, this is absurd. They going with undrafted free agents now are going to get time. They're going to get snaps.
yes, they are.
And then, of course, before we stop talking about the Jets, we got to talk about the quietest 3-sack performance in NFL history for Will McDonald, who
Yeah.
had a key sack at the end of the
Yes,
game.
he
So this
did.
is not. I'm not criticizing him at all. but he ended up with 3 credited sacks, which is pretty hysterical because I think there was definitely one where Levis scrambled for like a loss of 1, where like he was just there, McDonald, and because he got blocked out of the play, and he just happened to pick it up and he got a sack that way. And I don't even know what the other one was, but he did have that key sack
Yes,
at
he
the end
did.
of the game. So
Yes,
good
he
for Will
did.
McDonald. Very happy for him. He's still a situational pass rusher. With this
And
injury
he's
to
small.
Johnson,
And
he
he's
is
small.
undersized. He's undersized, John.
You
That's what
could
he
see
is.
it. He looks like a
Yeah.
peanut next to some of those guys.
Right. And he is a specialty pass rush player. He's not going to be able to play every down. So that means that the undrafted free agents and Tack McKinley, who was a veteran free agent that they brought in off, was an ex first rounder with the Falcons. He's the other option. So Braden McGregor and this guy Eric Watts from UConn are going to be dressing now. This is going to be interesting on Thursday night with the Pats. We'll probably make a little prediction later. But that's a lot of Jet stuff, and I'm sure we're missing some stuff.
Well, your man McGovern got re-signed for the practice squad.
Yeah, yeah. A good,
Not bad.
good
Not
veteran
bad.
quality depth. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. But the problem is now they need defensive linemen, and that's
Yeah.
where it's crazy. The O line does not have a blemish, and the D line is in shambles. Uh, they played better. Solomon Thomas played a little better, even though again he had that time they had Will Levis wrapped up for a sack and he
Yeah. Oh,
escapes and he runs for like
oh,
15 yards. John, this game, you just look at it and you just got to take the win and move on, right? That's all you can do.
I agree. I agree. You want to talk about lack of depth? The Giants, man, what were they thinking if they knew that their kicker had a groin injury before the game and you didn't have a backup to him? Wow. You talk
John,
about
didn't this happen last year to Graham Gano? And I
yeah,
called him something. I
yes
called
it
him
did.
Gordon Gano. I remember this vividly.
Gordon
Right.
Gecko.
And the exact thing happened last year. And you're telling me that was because I didn't know what happened because they were played at the same time as the Jets, and I
Yeah,
saw they
he had a groin injury going into the game, and they decided, okay, you know what, he could we could still use him. But meanwhile, they didn't activate any backup kicker to him. So what ends up
right,
happening on the kickoff? He then, because when you have a groin injury, you're going to start favoring it. He ends up pulling a hamstring. So what now? They have no kicker. They try to have the punter
yeah,
actually
yeah,
kick an extra point, and he missed it terribly. So what was he doing the entire game? They kept going for 2 point conversions. I mean, and they were messing up on that. I mean, this was such bad strategy. Dayball, yeah, he should throw his headsets because he screwed him up. He should have activated a kicker. If you knew your one kicker was hurt, have a backup. They
well,
could have easily, the Giants could have easily won this game. They had so many chances for field goals. It was terrible. Oh my God. When the Jets were in commercial, I was
yeah,
switching to the Giant game and I'm like, what are they doing? And then we heard about Gano. Stupid, stupid.
yeah. I
Boy, they
couldn't
blew
figure
that
out.
game. They blew that game.
Yeah, yeah, I did catch at the end on that fourth down where they couldn't kick a field goal and they went for it and Malik Neighbors in his hands, first down, and the rookie drops it. So he's a good player. He's going to probably be a great player, but that's the lumps you take as a rookie. It happens. I guess the hanging of Daniel Jones in effigy is now like been suspended, I guess, for a week. So
He
I didn't
wasn't
really
bad.
see enough of the
He
game,
wasn't
but
bad.
yeah, right. He bounced back. Good for him. That's their only option, folks. I mean, if Giant fans think that Drew Lock is the answer,
Oh God.
that you're really probably you're just mistaken, and the Giants are going to end up drafting a quarterback, folks, and that's going to it's probably going to happen next year. We'll see how they end up the year. Now, from a college prospect perspective, it's way too early. But the Giants, I mean, that's the situation they're in. That is not a good start, obviously. Losing to the Commanders, I know it was a road game. I don't even know who the Giants have another easy one this weekend, I believe, right? I honestly don't. Do you know who they're playing this week? We'll look it up.
We'll look it up.
So you want to go around the NFL quick, or you want to go into a little Jets Patriots quick and just get the predictions out of the way, or you just what do you want to do?
Um, I mean, there were some interesting games that. I mean, the New Orleans Saints. Since when are they an offensive juggernaut? I mean, they put up some point and they crushed the Cowboys. Absolutely crushed them.
Well,
I'm
that's the
stunned.
so
I
yeah.
was
No, if you
stunned.
look around, if you look around the league, most surprising team, you're going to start and finish with them. That is a huge win. Talk about, those suicide pools, John. The first
Oof.
week, the Bengals lose to the Pats. Then you had that game, and then the Ravens lose at home. So
Yeah.
those games, I don't play the suicide pools, which is, pick every week for the whole season or as long as you can, a different team each week. Yeah, so the Saints, Derek Carr, there you go. That's a name from the past for the Bouk and Zoobie show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Too funny, too funny.
Well, and
John, yeah.
The Lions lost. They should have won that game. The Lions should have won. Um, yeah. I mean, Chargers look very, very good in their game. Very good.
Well, it helps to play probably the worst team in football. That helps, right? Let's
Yeah.
face it.
Yeah.
And it's also the big story, I guess, of today. Bryce Young of the Panthers is being benched after 2 weeks. Andy Dalton takes over. It makes sense. They just got to sit the kid. He's not ready. Again,
Yeah.
this is one of these, like, it's not his fault. They did what they did. They made this one of the, actually, it's definitely could go down as the worst trade in the history of the NFL, where the Panthers traded up from 9 to 1, right, John, the year before, and they gave up like two twos, 2-1, like that one that year. They flip flop, got a one and a two, and then this year the one that they got ends up being the top pick of the draft for the Bears. Right? It was the Bears who made this trade.
Yeah.
Plus, incredibly, there's a number 2 pick next year in 2025. Is
Ooh.
another pick coming. So it
Oof.
was like, and they got DJ Moore, the wide receiver, on top of it. They got a player who's got a big contract, and I'm not going to say he's a Pro Bowler, but he's close. So that is, the literal worst trade in history. We joke about hedge fund guys being sports owners. Now, Stevie Cohen is fighting that back this year. We'll get to him later. But Dave Tepper, who's a hedge fund manager, is proving to be one of the worst owners in the history of the league. Woody Johnson is very happy he's in the league, so that takes the heat off of him. And I can't help but give him a little shot as Hassan Reddick sits on the sideline and not playing for my team. So so what else? I guess obviously the big game with a little controversy. I don't know what you thought if you saw it. Cincinnati, Kansas City,
Oh.
late in the game. Kansas City going for the win on a field goal, third down or fourth down, right? I'm sorry, it was not third down, it was fourth down. The D-back looked like he was going for the ball, John, but he's a seventh round draft pick rookie, and seventh round draft picks who are rookies don't get the call, especially against Kansas City in Kansas City.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I
Rough.
listen. Yeah, it was tough. That was a
He
tough
did hit
loss.
him early. He did hit him early
I know, but that you know what? That was a tough call.
to end the yeah, basically to
Especially
end.
when I picked the Bengals to
I'll
as
tell
I
you, John, that was one of those calls. If you're a fan of the team that lost, you're going crazy because against Kansas City, that
it was
play, was
ticky
up.
tack,
It
ticky
was a
tack.
little ticky tack to end the game that way. He did get there early, but as Sauce Gardner proved, as they showed one replay to get back to the Jets quick, Sauce was holding on like 3 or 4 different times during the route, and they didn't call it, they didn't flag it. So there's a lot of reputational stuff in the league when it comes to the referees. And then there was that obviously that Jamar Chase, unsportsmanlike, but guys, you got to leave the personal stuff off the football field if you're not happy because you didn't get your contract. These guys, John, as this concept that they have to be the highest paid player. What happens? It's like you're just not you're not the best. So Chase wants more money than Justin Jefferson. And you could argue that Justin Jefferson is better than Chase. And he's taken it onto the field, sign a contract. These contracts are huge, John, what they're getting. Like you've been reporting on the show, right? 60 million guaranteed for receivers, like whatever
Right,
CD Lamb got.
right.
What did he get? Right? And you
It's
can
it
tear your Achilles the next week and be out
right.
for a year and a half.
There you go.
And you want, right? It's crazy.
It's very bad advising. I mean, we've seen it in baseball. It's the same thing in any other sport. Football, especially, where you're getting clocked almost every single play by someone that's 250 pounds. You know what? I'll take the 60 million. I'll take my chances. I mean, I don't know what these guys are thinking. Like you said, one wrong move on the turf and your career's over. And it could be an innocuous play where you're just looking and your knee gives out or your
Right.
Achilles gives out.
So they're
I
making
don't
the
know how
point.
these
Yeah.
guys think like that. I can't
They're not
understand
thinking.
them.
And then he goes on the field and he acts like a petulant child and he gets a dopey penalty that hurts his team. And
Yep,
they can't afford to lose. And now they're 0-2.
yep.
So not that I feel sorry for the Bengals, even though I picked them to make the playoffs too. They got plenty of time to come back. They look like they're a playoff team, but who knows in the NFL? And as we jump around the NFL, folks, and quickly, John, we got to get to our weekly reminder, right? We're a word of mouth show, folks. So please, when you watch our show, like the episodes, subscribe to the episodes on youtube.com, spotify.com. You get the automated downloads. It's the only way to deal with it. You see when we drop the show. Today, we're doing Monday nights. We're going to do Monday nights when the Jets are playing Sunday. We're not going to do a show on Friday. So our Jet fans who watch us will have to wait till Monday to find out about what we think about Thursday, which we'll get to in a minute. So we do appreciate everybody tuning in, listening in, and also, of course, our friends at the world famous LIR.com, 927LIR.com, where they are on the radio all the time. It's via internet radio and, minor commercials, if any, some promos, and you get to hear the old names, and it's kind of fun, right, John? So please
Oh,
check
yeah.
out the radio station.
And one thing regarding the NFL, we forgot our friend Mr. Sam Darnold.
John, that's where I was going right before I decided to do our
Oh,
pitch. I was going
okay.
to Sam Darnold because I was talking about Justin Jefferson, but that's good. I'm glad you brought it up immediately because that's where I was headed. MVP, John, after 2 weeks,
Solid game for Sam. Solid
97
game.
yard bomb to Justin Jefferson, our aforementioned Sam Darnold playing with confidence. 2 games in, John. We're going to see Sam Darnold in London in a few weeks.
That's right.
By then, we're going to know a lot about Sam Darnold, and we're going to know a lot about the Jets on a little breakfast on whatever date it is. I think it's October 6th they play. So, yeah, good. Kudos to him, John. I'm happy for him.
And that pass was an absolutely gorgeous pass that he made. And it was, I mean, he threw it while he was in the end zone. I mean, he was
Yep.
in trouble. He was actually in trouble. He could have gotten sacked there for the safety. And he got it out there. Beautiful pass. Absolutely. I mean,
Yep.
you and I knew he had an excellent arm. Like I said last week, they just did not give him a chance to play. They really didn't.
Yeah.
And they didn't,
Well,
not the right
yep.
coach. There was no
Yep.
protection for him. It's the same old story. Give him
Of
protection,
course.
give him a real coach, and he'll do well.
It's a shame, but it's just, again, instant gratification with the New York crowd. And Zach Wilson's in between this too, John. So it is kind of ancient history, and that was the argument, right? Trade back, don't draft Zach Wilson, keep Sam Darnold for another year. San Francisco made the trade, and they got Trey Lance. They could have had that trade. They would have had multiple draft picks. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. That's the way sports is, John. And the Jets have historically made the wrong decisions. And that's where, why they haven't been to the playoffs in whatever, 13 years or whatever the heck it is now. I guess it's 13, and have not been back to the big game since 1970, which would make people on who watch us, maybe we have a few, John, who remember that day. We unfortunately were a little young then. We were alive, but not really aware. But anyway, we always go back to the Jets, folks. Sam Darnold deserves that. I'm happy for him. Anything else in the NFL? Because I know you wanted to throw in some winter sports today because, folks, believe it or not, it's not that far away.
No, it's not. It's a month and a half before the NBA actually begins. And the Knicks have made actually what I thought are pretty shrewd moves. I mean, they may not everyone's going to make this team, but look, it's not bad. I mean, they had Landry Shamet, who, for those of you who remember him, he was a first round pick by the 76ers. I forgot what year it was, but he was a first rounder. He was picked 26th in that draft. He's an excellent 3-point shooter. Uh, I mean, I think he fits in perfectly with the Knicks. Perfectly. Last year they had problems in the playoffs because they really didn't have any. Everyone was hurt.
Right.
They really didn't have any backups. The
Yeah.
12th, they were 11th and 12th guys and 13th guys were
Yeah.
just
CBA.
developmental guys,
Yeah,
right?
you're right. Right.
Another guy that they signed that I was surprised is Marcus Morris, who still had. I mean, he's old, but he still looked pretty good to me when we were playing the 76ers during the playoffs. So,
He's been
they're
around.
doing, yeah, he's been around, but
Yeah.
you know what? That's a hell of a lot better than having a kid from
Yeah.
the G League at the end
Yeah.
of your bench. You have two experienced guys,
Yeah. It's
and
true.
for relatively nothing, Shaman, I'm telling you, Shaman is a real
What did he
find.
get? Do you have the deets or
No, they didn't
nothing?
actually, yeah, from what
Okay.
I've been reading, it's anywhere from 3 to 6 million that they got
One
him
year
for.
deals?
One
They
year
got
deal.
1 year
One
deals.
year deal.
All right.
One
Well,
year.
there you go. They got to fill up the, like you said, the depth. That's where they were last year. They literally had, by the end of the year, they had 5 or 6 guys that were right that were dressing that just were there. I didn't even know who they were. That was right. They never played. They
No.
were playing with 8 guys, not 5 or 6, but whatever the is it 13 they dress now? I never. It's crazy
Yeah,
with the NBA.
yeah. And I mean, we both saw during the playoffs, it was pretty pathetic. I mean, Brunson ended up breaking his wrist. OG might as well had a wheelchair on the court when he was in. That was the most ridiculous. Who thought of putting him out there? I I I,
Oh
I
boy.
mean, that was horrible.
I'll
It
tell
still
you,
bothers
folks,
me.
who are watching, it the pain lingers. The pain lingers. John is
We could have
going there.
beaten
I could make some comment about the Rangers, but they are actually opening up training camp incredibly. I think next week, believe it or not.
Wow.
So I don't know when the first game is. It's like early October. Uh, I love the NHL, so I'll be happy that they're starting. But it's just it's these seasons are so long, and we have plenty of time to talk
Just
about it.
ended
But
3 months ago. I mean,
right,
with
right,
the NHL, it's like what 3 months ago it ended.
not even 3 months ago, right? They played till the end of July. Are you kidding me? So, but anyway, we love to see the good news is for the tri-state area sports fan, John, is those two teams are pretty much the best chance. I don't know, may shouldn't say best chance because we're going to get to the other sport soon because there is a chance there, Heartbreak City or not, going down the pipe. But so I don't know, John. We may want to go there but I always want to give that avenue for you to bring something else from some other sport that we haven't talked about, or it's something that popped. College football we haven't mentioned. We'll get a little more into that as the season goes. There's not much action there. If you're a Florida fan or Florida State, you're probably in deep depression as those once powerhouses are. I think they're both winless. That's probably the biggest story. And then just again the 12-team playoff this year in college football. So we'll definitely get more into that as the season progresses.
Yeah, actually, I can mention something about St. John's. So, season tickets came up for renewal, and I did renew them.
You told us that though. You did tell us that.
I did, but
Okay.
what is a little bit different is they raised prices by 20% from last year. Okay. They supposedly have put in new seating so you can actually watch the games at
At Carnesecca, right?
Carnesecca. What I find really interesting, and we did speak about it a couple of weeks ago, is that matchup between St. John's and Baylor.
Right.
And they actually have they're offering a package to
Okay.
go and see that, Gabe, if you want to. But it's for the students. Clearly, it'll cost probably triple for someone that works at St. John's. But they have a
Okay.
package for the students to go down. And I'm saying to myself, okay, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the dates, and I'm like, okay, so you're actually openly telling the students, yeah, you can miss a week of school to go see a basketball game in the Bahamas somewhere.
Right. It is around Thanksgiving, but I'm not. It's not near the holiday. It's like a few days
No,
before. So,
they're not
right.
off. They're not.
Right.
They're
They're not
not
off.
off.
Right. That's the point. Right. They're not off, but it's around Thanksgiving. And a
Oh,
lot of colleges, John, you're traditionally, when you went to college, Thanksgiving break didn't really start until Wednesday. And now it's like almost most students are blowing out the Friday before, John,
that's
and
right.
taking that whole week off. So there might be a little bit of that. The colleges don't care, John. They're still collecting the same amount of money from a tuition perspective. But,
Well, and they're online too.
oh,
They used to be. They used to be that the only people who could do online classes were graduate students. Now they're trying to appease everyone, so now they're even having some undergraduates being able to take online classes. And the worst thing of all is they're not even meeting face to face. They're doing asynchronous, where it's almost like a correspondence course. They give you an assignment, you respond to it, the professor responds to you, and you get 3 credits. I was like, wow, they're allowing the undergraduates to do that now. It's
wow.
amazing. Yeah, things
Well,
have changed, Paul. It's unlike us when we used to go to the library and have a million dimes in our hands so we can make copies from the journals and in the libraries. Now they have everything at their fingertips and they still don't hand in the assignments in on time.
oh boy, there's a rant from a college professor who's ready to retire from being a professor. But one thing that John I know is paying attention to, folks, and it's that weekly time. As we get closer and closer to the end of the season, are you ready for some baseball with Bouk?
Yes, very interesting, very tough series for the Mets. They had 2 games in their hands, and listen, they're playing the Phillies. The Phillies are a very good team. Let's be honest here. They beat Nola to a pulp. They didn't have to face Wheeler the entire weekend. So the fact that I I hate to say it, I was actually happy winning 1 out of 3 against them, even though I know we could have won all 3 and catch the Diamondbacks on top of it. Unfortunately, now the Mets are 2 games behind the Diamondbacks because they had a miracle rally in the 10th inning
Right?
against the
Was that
Brewers where they were down 2 and they ended up scoring 3 in the bottom of the 10th. So, we don't have that many games left. I mean, we have 3 against the Nationals. We have 4 against the Phillies at Citi Field this weekend, Thursday, Friday,
okay?
Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
Then the last 6 are on the road, 3 against Atlanta and 3 against Milwaukee. So
Right, but when it comes to the last playoff spot, they are tied with the Braves because they're
no,
behind
Braves are 1 ahead now.
one ahead, and
They've
the
been beating the
Diamondbacks are two
Dodgers.
ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been beating the Dodgers. Like tonight, you talk about a great matchup. It's Yamamoto against Fried tonight. But the Dodgers have been getting clobbered by the Braves. The Braves, they woke up. I don't know, but it's
Well,
you
I'll give a
know,
live update. Bottom of the third, John. No score. Mets Nationals.
and
So
Nolan Dor, by the way.
again, that's what I was just going to ask you. So give us an up. What's going on with that? He came back and then he left the game.
Yeah, he came back too soon because you could see he tweaked the rounding second. He thought that they weren't going to throw the ball behind him. They caught him, and he tried to make one of those moves where he dives under tries to trick the guy from not missing a tag. That never
Right.
works. And so he had an MRI today, and they say anywhere from 3 to 5 days he'll be up.
Okay.
So
That is
worst possible timing.
right.
I mean, we got a chance to see Acuna, who,
Looks pretty good, right?
he looks good. He's a little small.
Yeah, he's small.
He's a tiny guy, but he has speed. Um, Listen, this has been all year like this for them. I mean, the Mets have been like on a Cinderella ride here. If they
Mhm.
get into the playoffs, I'm thrilled for them. The starting pitching has been great. Other than Severino making a couple of mistakes to Harper, he pitched an excellent game. So did Peterson again.
Yeah,
Peterson's been great this year. Great. Manaya's pitching tonight.
that was good.
We need to
He's
score some runs.
3 innings. He has 4 strikeouts.
Yeah.
It's a good sign for tonight. Hopefully they
Yeah,
can pull it out because they got to win, John. They got to beat the Nationals. I mean, they
they
almost have to
have.
sweep them. They have to sweep them.
But the Nationals,
They're tough,
people
right?
are they have a good young team, very, very good young team. They're going to be something else, maybe even by next year. If they make a couple of signings, they're going to be tough. They have a nice nucleus, the Nationals. I wouldn't poo-poo them from winning a game or two from the Mets. They're actually a pretty decent team. The National League as a whole, I think it's much more difficult year for anyone in the National League as opposed to the American League looks just so weak to
Yeah,
me. Really weak. The National League is like stacked with good teams. I mean,
well,
all you have to do
that's
is look at the wild card race. It may be that you're going to need to win. I thought it was going to be only 86 games.
yeah, it's more, right?
I think you're going to need 90
It
to,
looks like it.
right? And
The
you could
Mets
have
could
three.
win. Oh my God, the Mets could win like 88 or 89 games and not make it, John. That is going to be a brutal situation
Yeah,
going into the offseason because, again, we've talked about this a lot. This is not a young team, and they've
no.
got some issues regarding guys who are free agents. Now, I do believe they gave Manaya a 2-year deal, right? They give him two?
Yeah, but it's a
Is
player option for the
it
second year.
it's a 1-year
He
deal.
is gonna
Okay.
he is gonna cash in.
So him, Severino, obviously unsigned. How about Peterson? They probably still have him under
No,
control,
yeah,
right?
they
Yeah.
have plenty. Yeah, they have
So
plenty.
Quintana's also a free agent.
He is a free
So
agent.
wow, it's crazy from year to year. And of course, we haven't mentioned Pete in his situation. But do you see like the way Acuna and we're assuming Mauricio is going to come back? Is it possible that Vientos goes to first base
Could
and then
be.
they get Acuna at second or third and vice versa with the other guy? That's who I just mentioned. My God,
You
his name.
still, yeah, you
What's
have
his name again?
Mauricio, but what about
Mauricio.
Brett? And what about Brett Beatty? Brett Beatty
Yeah.
actually had a very good year at AAA.
Well, that's good. It's organizational
Yeah,
depth. But do you
yeah.
see that right now? We're at September 16th. I mean,
Pete
that's
made a
kind
big.
of
I say Pete made a big mistake turning down that 7-year, 158 million. He made, as you and I called it, Pete. Um, I like Pete, but Pete just does not come through all year. He's still batting at what,
yeah.
200 with runners in scoring position. He still hasn't.
It's still no.
I
His
hope I
numbers.
mention it, and then he goes on a tear for the next
No.
14
That
games. But
maybe
he's
that's
been
it. Right now we need him.
the only home
Because
run he hit. The only run he's hit in what the past I don't know how many games
what's the day?
was off of Clemens kid, Cody Clemens. He
Right,
brought him
okay.
in that blowout, and he threw him a 65-mile-an-hour batting practice pitch, and that was his home run.
Oh, right. Yeah, what's the deal with is that part of his repertoire? He just throws that junk sometimes. It's like or is he a position player? He's a position.
Cody Clemens plays third base.
Oh, that's what it was.
In.
He's a position player. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
so they brought him in and let him pitch to Pete, and Pete
Yeah,
finally
Pete.
got a home run after what, 2 weeks?
I just
Of
had
Cody
turned the
Clemens?
TV on, and I was thinking, like, is this guy like a knuckleball pitcher or something? No, it was a position player.
No,
Oh, all right.
position player.
My bad, there. That just shows where I am. That's why we have Bouk in baseball, folks, because John keeps you up to date. Just quickly before we get over to the Yankees, and you can definitely talk about the Mets more too. I just wanted to make sure we got our our pitching amount of pitchers count as we head into the end of the season. I don't want to let this die. The Mets are they still at 37, or
They're
they're going to be?
still, they're
So
still, they're still.
has anybody gotten over the 40 player mark? Did you check it this week?
Well, like I said last week,
Yeah,
it
the
was
Marlins, right?
the Marlins. The Marlins. No, I
Nope.
haven't checked. I
Oh, you
haven't
haven't
checked
checked.
it.
All
I
right, so
didn't
that'll
check
be
it.
your assignment for next week on Baseball with Boog to give us the latest, because we definitely want to track that into the end of the year and see how many teams, folks, used more than 40 pitchers in a
It's
season.
unbelievable.
40. So people understand there's 26 players on a roster. So that is beyond comprehension. But anyway, I do like I do this, John. Right? I get something in my head, and I just can't get off of that one. It's just absolutely
Well, if you
crazy.
look at the Mets, I mean, you look at the Mets. We thought last year was really, really bad. This year is worse. And when you actually see the guys that were injured, we really could have used it. I mean, every game you have to hold your breath with Garrett coming in, and you bring him into the Philly game, and I'm saying to myself, he's going to give up a 2-run single here or something. You knew the Mets when they were up 4-0 and it became 4-3. I'm like, they're going to lose this game because
Yeah.
you're bringing him in, and it's not. You're just hoping he's going to do well. You know he's not going to do well, but you hope he does well.
Well, it's
It's
that Nunez
it's
it was ruled out for the season, right?
Yeah,
The
Nunez
kid
is
who came
out,
up that hurt them.
And Budo looks like he's gassed
He
now.
hit the wall.
He hit the wall.
He's a
Uh,
starter. That's why.
the
Yeah.
Youngs, I call them the
The
Youngs,
Youngs.
Alex and Danny.
Right.
Uh,
In a clutch spot, forget it.
yeah, and Diaz again. He
He
blew the
gave it
game,
up.
but the bullpen's been a problem. I mean, Stanek. I don't know
He's
what
still,
happened to him from Houston, but the guy throws hard, but he has no control. So, I mean, what do we really have? Ottavino, I mean,
but he's pitched better, believe it or not. Ottavino hasn't
he
he pitched a little
has, he
better?
has, but they're bringing him in the fifth inning or sixth inning
Well,
now.
that's where he
They
belongs,
don't
John.
even
Yeah,
trust him anymore.
this is
It's a
rough with
shambles.
Lynn.
The
Yeah,
bullpen's a shambles for them.
yeah. Well,
Absolute shambles.
they got to let the starters go deeper now. They have no choice.
Yeah.
Lindor being out, John, that is a crusher for this team. Guy was having such a great season. Hopefully, it's only going to be those 3 days, but if they can't, they got to win these games, John. Oh boy, you have anything else on the Mets before you want to talk a
Yeah.
little Yanks?
One more thing, which I thought
Yes.
was very funny. I'm gonna say the word funny.
Okay.
So obviously, I gave up my season tickets.
That's kind of funny in itself. That's another
So,
story.
so I have someone who had the same exact name as my representative from last year. So I said, why? This guy's voice sounds different. It was the same name, but different person. And he says, could I interest you in postseason tickets for the Mets? I said, yeah, I considered postseason tickets for the Mets. Well, if you buy 2025 season tickets,
Aye.
we will give you. I said, oh, so I can't have them separately. No, you have to have, a season ticket. And they have all these different plans now. Uh, it's confusing. You know how you used to have a 20 game plan, 40 game plan, full season plan. Now they have like price flux. I don't even know what
Yeah.
they call it, like the
Right.
price fluctuation plan, where you could pick and choose what games you could go to based on
Right.
pricing.
So if they're good, you're going to pay through the nose, and if they stink, you'll get a break. So it's like, hey, you got a discount on your seats. Oh, by the way,
Right,
we're the worst team in the league, but you got a
right.
discount on your. So, John, yeah, that's like I said.
So
My girl Jenna from the Jets keep on asking me if I want to get a luxury box. I mean, how many luxury boxes are sitting empty for football Sundays at the Jet games? I mean, it really is so funny. I'm not kidding you.
well, they're
Um,
still advertising to get tickets to the opening game. They're still advertising. So that means they don't even have a sellout right now.
Of course not, John. Thursday night. First of all, the Jets, as we've talked about previously on Bouk and Zoobie, not for a long time. I'm an ex-season ticket holder from the Jets. Once they built this new stadium, they destroyed their base of season ticket holders. So they have a bunch of ticket brokers, and maybe 30,000 people get season tickets. And the opposing teams suck up a lot of seats, and that's why you see so many people
Yeah.
from other teams. The upper deck at MetLife is a bad seat. Anybody who says it's not is never been to a real good stadium. So that's unfortunately those tickets just don't sell anymore, John. So they're going to be perpetually not selling out. And then Thursday night, I mean, it's really awful. Your home opener, and I know as being a guy who used to go to games for decades, you look forward to opening day, and it was Sunday every time. And opening up on a Thursday night as the home opener is just a kick in the teeth. I'll be nice to the fans. It really is, and it's honestly a disgrace. It really is. I can't tell you. I
And
mean,
it
I
and it
dread the Thursday
continues.
night games. It's not good football. Late in the season, it becomes even more of a joke because their teams are really hurting. And it's just they used to put these lousy matchups on Thursday. Now they're trying to like juice them up a little bit, but it's unfair, and it's why don't they? And they don't want to play Friday nights because it's like high school football tradition. Who cares? I'm sorry. In 2024, who cares? Play some games on Friday, so at least you had an extra day's rest. So the Thursday you play in Sunday. If you play in the late hour, then the time you get home, they don't even practice that week. It really is a joke, John. It really
Well,
is.
I actually think the reason why they don't play on Friday nights is just for safety purposes. I think that you're going to get every boozer going, fights galore on a Friday night. Are you crazy? Did you think about that?
No,
Friday
I've
night,
not thought about that. Okay.
work week is over. Let's go to a Jet game. Let's go see the Jet.
But I'm
Jets
just
against
talking about.
Miami. How many arrests are going to be at that game on a
Well, they did
Friday
have the
night?
Thanksgiving. Well, they had the Thanksgiving Friday, which is a little different, I guess. But no, my point is make Thursday night football Friday night football. Not every team playing on a Friday. That one game. I get what you're saying. I guess maybe that's a point. Good call. I don't know. We have to do some talk. Let's send a
Listen,
letter to Roger
Thanksgiving.
Goodell.
Yeah, but listen, Thanksgiving. Let's say
That
Thanksgiving
was different,
Friday.
right?
Yeah, people, they're in the holiday mood. But if you get them on a regular Friday night and they had a bad week at work and they go to a freaking Jets game on a Friday night, yeah, let's go get some beers. We'll be in the parking lot drinking. We'll be in the, forget it, man. You might as well have the entire NYPD over there handling that game.
All right, all right. That's John's call. I think people still can drink on Thursdays just as well as Fridays, but I
Yeah.
get what you're saying. You're not going to work the next day. But John, for anybody under the age of 30, they can handle going to work hungover. That's actually a what you should be doing as a young person, going to work hungover on a Friday. That's what kind of it's like an American tradition, we'll call it.
Yeah.
All right,
Um,
John. What else we got?
well, I have outside of the Yankees, clearly the Yankees are back on a roll. They're going to end up, I think, they're going to stay in first. Baltimore's been sliding a little bit, so the Yankees are doing as expected. Stroman might be out of the rotation for the playoffs all of a sudden.
That's what it looks like, right?
Yeah, he has
Hmm.
not been pitching well, and I kind of knew that. I mean, he usually loses gas at the end of the year. He always pitches well in the beginning, then he loses some steam in the middle, then he really peters out at the end. So he might be out of the bullpen. Judge is back. I mean, he didn't have a
Hit the
home run.
granny. Finally.
Yeah, finally,
Hit
it's up
52.
to now he's up to 53.
No, hit another
Good
one.
for him. He hit the two since the last time we spoke. But there was something very interesting. Let's go outside the Yankees. And I thought this was the strangest thing. So there's this player, I'm going to read off his name, called Derek Bender. So he was a sixth round pick for the Twins, catcher. He got a $297,000 signing bonus. And he was just released by the Twins. Why? Because he was letting the opposing batters at the end of the year know what pitch was coming.
Yeah, I did hear this. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were his team was 5 games ahead in the playoff race. And all of a sudden they started losing all these games. The pitchers were giving up all these home runs. And when they asked him why he did it, he goes, I just wanted the season to be over. So, I mean, what kind of brains is you? People die to be drafted by a team, get almost a $300,000 signing bonus, and then you say, "Well, I want this season," and you're telling the opposing batters what pitch is coming, and then you get released. So I tell you, that was
Wow.
the
Well,
strangest story I've
what
read.
level? What was it? AAA? What was his level?
No,
Do you know?
no, A ball, A
Oh, it was
ball,
Abel.
A ball.
Well, John, his heart wasn't in it, obviously. So maybe he wants to help humanity or something. That's a good story. I did see it. I didn't really know the details.
I mean, just a nutty story. And I'm trying to say to myself, so you worked all your life to get to this point where you would be drafted. You get a nice bonus. You're a catcher. He was actually doing well for them. And then you say, yeah, I'm fed up with the season. Let me just start telling the other players what's coming on. And then you get released. Wow. Crazy story. Crazy story.
All right. Well, that's a
But
good one.
that's it for baseball. I mean, other than my Detroit Tigers, 2.5 games out of a playoff spot,
Okay.
wild card.
All right.
Same thing
There
with
you
the
go.
Mariners.
John's got
Uh,
this love affair with Detroit, with between baseball
eh,
and football going on. So there you go.
the Tigers. I have to say, and I said it in the beginning of the season, re, up and coming team. Watch them. I mean, they actually moved very quickly this year, but they have some really great young players. And there's one pitcher's name. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Schoolball,
Okay.
lefty.
Hmm.
Oh man, this kid has some stuff.
There you go.
What
There's a
stuff?
name.
He might be Cy Young. I think he might get the Cy Young in the American League.
There you go. All right, that's a tidbit from Baseball with Book. We're talking about that's good. People don't know. I never even heard of the guy. So kudos for you to bring him up. As always, we always try to talk about things that not people are thinking about. So you can come to our show and enjoy the content. Like I said earlier, please like our episodes. It drives the algos. Also, the comment section. Feel free put any topics in there. You want to give us some feedback? We'd appreciate it. But anything else before we shut it down, John?
No, let's cross our fingers that
Thursday
the New York
night. Oh
Mets
yeah,
stay
quickly
in the
before we
playoff race.
go. Before we go, Jets,
Oh,
Pats,
Jets, no
they got to
problem
win.
this week. No
Not a
problem this week.
problem. Book says not a problem. Me being an old-time Jet fan, a little problem. I say under 7 point victory.
Oh wow.
What would it be a game without a little agita, John? I mean, they win one easily every 3 to 5 years, so it's always a bit of a heart attack. So we'll see. I hope you're
I
right.
say
I would love.
17. I think they're going to win by 17.
All right, 17. I'll take 6 points. I'll go with. All right, John.
Sure.
Who do you got to thank?
As always, thank you to our producer, Zach Zubulake, and to our loyal listeners. We enjoy reading your feedback and, again, put comments in the comment section. Also, thanks to our community partners, Ronald McDonald House, Kids in Seats, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. See you next Monday.